Bryson DeChambeau has just become the most talked about player in the locker room, for all the wrong reasons. After missing his second straight major cut at the 2026 PGA Championship, the quiet quotes from other pros that have been simmering under the surface for years are finally bubbling to the top. Things players said in private, things caddies whispered to reporters, things rivals refused to say on camera. And now, with Bryson's career hanging in the balance and LIV golf collapsing around him, the truth about how the rest of professional golf actually feels about him is finally coming out. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what these guys are revealing about Bryson is unlike anything the public has ever heard, and once you understand it, you will never look at him the same way again. The first truth about Bryson DeChambeau is the one nobody wants to say on camera. The other players on tour have, almost universally, found him exhausting to be around. Not malicious, not cruel, just exhausting. The slow play, the endless explanations, the 20-minute press conferences about wedge bounce angles, the relentless self-promotion, the constant need to be the center of every conversation. One veteran caddy, speaking anonymously to a major golf publication years ago, said playing in a group with Bryson felt less like a round of golf and more like attending a TED Talk you did not sign up for. That quote has aged like fine wine, and the players who have walked off the course with him, the ones who actually had to live through 5.5-hour rounds while Bryson rehearsed swings and recalculated yardages, have been quietly telling reporters for years that the experience is not what it looks like from the broadcast booth. Drop a comment right now if you think Bryson genuinely does not understand how he comes across to other players, because the Brooks Koepka moment is where this whole story actually exploded. The infamous eye roll. The 2020 interview, where Brooks Koepka was being asked about something completely unrelated, and the moment Bryson's name came up, his face did something on camera that became the single most watched golf clip of that entire decade. The eye roll was just the beginning. What followed was years of public sniping, viral social media exchanges, locker room cold shoulders, and the most legitimate professional rivalry the PGA Tour had seen since the Tiger Woods era. And here is the truth about that feud that most fans never understood. Brooks Koepka was not the only one feeling it, he was just the only one willing to say it out loud. Multiple players, when pressed, would offer quiet agreement. Bryson was great for the sport but draining for the tour. He sold tickets, he generated content, he drove ratings. But behind the scenes, the things he was doing on the course, the slow play warnings, the absurd ruling requests, the demands for special treatment, were creating a level of friction other players had stopped tolerating. Smash that like button right now, because the Patrick Cantlay incident at the BMW Championship is where Bryson's tour reputation took its biggest single hit, the Cantlay tee time confrontation. Bryson, frustrated with what he considered Patrick Cantlay's deliberately slow pace of play, made his unhappiness extremely public. He stood off to the side of tees, openly visible to cameras, eyeballing Cantlay with a level of contempt usually reserved for actual rivals rather than playing partners. Cantlay, who is one of the most measured personalities in professional golf, refused to engage. He just kept playing his game. He kept taking his time, and he kept ignoring the man who had once been considered the worst slow play offender on the entire PGA Tour. That detail is what made the whole episode so revealing. Bryson, the player so notoriously slow that other pros had begged the tour to enforce pace of play rules against him for years, was now publicly complaining about somebody else being slow. The irony was not lost on the rest of the locker room, and the truth that came out of that moment was simple. Bryson DeChambeau, for all his talent, had developed a reputation as a man who saw rules differently when they applied to him. And let me throw this to you right now. Do you think Bryson genuinely believes he is misunderstood, or do you think he knows exactly what he is doing? Drop your honest take in the comments, because the Rory McIlroy situation is where this story truly turns. The 2024 US Open at Pinehurst was supposed to be Rory McIlroy's coronation. 2 putts to win, he missed both. Bryson, watching from the fairway, then proceeded to drain one of the most extraordinary recovery shots in major championship history and lift his second US Open trophy. Rory walked off the course without speaking to a single person. Bryson celebrated like he had just won the lottery. And from that moment, something fundamentally shifted between them. The two were never close. They were never enemies either. But after Pinehurst, the dynamic became something deeper and uglier. Rory stopped being asked about Bryson in interviews because his face would visibly drop. And Bryson, true to his entire public personality, refused to let the moment go. He posted about it on YouTube. He talked about it on podcasts. He referenced it in press conferences. He kept replaying the moment like a trophy he wanted everyone to see. Pat Perez, one of the most direct personalities in professional golf, said on a live stream that Bryson did not know when to shut up. That quote went viral because it summed up exactly what other players had been saying privately for years. If you're still watching this far in, do me a quick favor and smash that subscribe button, because the 2025 Ryder Cup is where the truth about Bryson finally exploded into public view. Bethpage Black, the 2025 Ryder Cup. Team USA, captained by Keegan Bradley, losing badly to Luke Donald's European team. And in the middle of that chaos, Bryson DeChambeau found himself in multiple on-course confrontations that the entire golf world watched in real time. The most infamous moment came on the 15th hole during Saturday afternoon fourballs, when Bryson, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, and Fleetwood's caddy ended up in a heated argument that cameras captured in excruciating detail, players standing toe-to-toe, caddies stepping between them, fans circling with phones out. Within minutes, clips were everywhere. After the Ryder Cup ended, Luke Donald, the European captain known for being the calmest, most diplomatic man in golf, was asked specifically about Bryson and gave a non-answer so loaded with subtext that golf journalists are still dissecting it today. He said Bryson was a competitor. He said the Ryder Cup brought out emotions, and then he refused to say another word. That is how you know it was bad. Because when Luke Donald refuses to elaborate on a specific player, something happened that nobody on the European side wanted to put on the record. The truth coming out of that Ryder Cup was uncomfortable. Multiple European players have since told journalists that the verbal exchanges from Bryson during those matches crossed lines that were not normal Ryder Cup banter. The European team finished the week celebrating their dominant victory, but many of them were also quietly relieved to be done dealing with Bryson DeChambeau for 2 years. Then 2026 happened. The Masters, missed cut. The PGA Championship at Mink, missed cut. First consecutive missed major cuts of his career since 2017. The first time he had missed both the Masters and PGA Championship in the same season, and the reactions from other players this time were genuinely different. There was no mocking, no Brooksy-style eye rolls. There was almost something close to sympathy, mixed with the unmistakable scent of professional vindication. Sean Zach of Golf.com captured the mood when he wrote that Bryson's game had become defined by an increasing volatility. When things went well, they went incredibly well. When things went wrong, they snowballed fast. Nick Piastowski reported that LIV golf uncertainty was genuinely affecting his play. Other insiders pointed to the wrist and shoulder injuries Bryson admitted to publicly, the lingering damage dating back to the Ryder Cup, and a body that had been pushed too hard for too many years in pursuit of the bombs and gouge style that made him famous. The truth that nobody wants to say out loud is this: Bryson DeChambeau spent half a decade making enemies in the locker room while winning 2 major championships and headlining an entire breakaway league. He thrived on chaos. He fed on attention. He treated every confrontation as content. And now, with his body breaking down, his major championship results collapsing, and LIV golf running out of funding, he is finally finding out what it is like to be vulnerable in a sport where almost nobody has any reason to root for him. Phil Mickelson, in classic Phil fashion, was asked about Bryson recently and gave one of the most carefully worded quotes of his career. He praised Bryson's talent. He praised Bryson's commitment. He praised Bryson's contribution to the game, and then he stopped talking. No defense of the personal stuff, no defense of the confrontations, no defense of the feuds, just praise for the resume and silence on everything else. When Phil Mickelson goes quiet on a player, you know the locker room verdict has already been delivered. So tell me, is Bryson DeChambeau a misunderstood genius being unfairly punished by the golf establishment? Or is this the slow, painful consequence of years of burning bridges he assumed he would never need? Drop your verdict in the comments, smash that like button if you want more breakdowns on golf's biggest personalities in crisis, and subscribe right now because the US Open at Shinnecock is just weeks away, and Bryson's next move might define the rest of his career.